I moved to Malaysia from America a while ago, but lately, I keep hearing on the news how the new American dream is to leave America, as life has become so unaffordable that more and more people are deciding to leave the country. And since Malaysia is now ranked as the #1 country in Asia for anyone working remotely, I got curious to see what the real difference in cost of living is in both countries. So in this video, I'm going to break down the most common expenses in both countries, like rent, entertainment, and food prices, to answer once and for all, which country is better to live in.
And how much the cost of living is at the end will blow your mind.
So the first thing I want to make clear is that Malaysia and the US are very different countries, economically with vastly different national averages. So it will be obvious throughout the video that I'll be comparing the same thing in both countries to see how much cheaper you can get in either America or Malaysia, just to be fair. And the first one we'll be delving into is the cost of rent and housing, because that's where it gets really insane over here, as hotels and apartments cost pretty much the same, and you could easily find rooms costing $19 or less, all the way to 5-star luxury 1 or 2 bedroom for the whole family for less than $50 a day. As luxurious and cheap as it can get.
Or maybe you want to sleep inside a bathtub. I tried it, it wasn't comfortable.
But the biggest difference would be the service. As staying in an apartment, maybe you get the kitchen, but seeing how cheap and delicious all the Malaysian food is, which we'll talk about how crazy affordable they are real quick, I'm not sure if a kitchen is necessary, compared to staying in the hotels where you get the best all-you-can-eat buffet every single day, saving you even more money, and swimming pools for you to relax all you want. I don't know why this one has green water. It's not going to give me superpower, right?
And hotel gym. Really empty hotel gym. Malaysia sure has some of the emptiest hotel gyms I've ever seen.
And for both apartments and hotels, they have some of the coolest ones, like living inside a luxury shipping container, one that gives you free cookies,
and even a hotel that gives you a free apple, because an apple a day keeps the doctor away when you throw it into their face like this.
Okay, that's not always a good apple, but you can start to see why living in another country can give you a life with more money and dignity. Since I couldn't tell you how many times my buddies in Texas told me they're being priced out of their neighborhood by some multi-billion-dollar company, but every time I mentioned how much it costs to live a normal life full of traveling and eating all the food in Malaysia, they almost couldn't believe it. But I think that's the biggest reason why people are leaving America, because a quick search on the internet will tell you that the average rent in California is way over $2,000, but the average salary, $30 an hour if you're living in the good part. But that leaves you with nothing to save after all your bills, rent, and those darn taxes that we don't even know where it goes to. But here in Malaysia, you don't even need to have enough saving to live a life of luxury, as the average rent of the city I live in is literally $700 a month, and can easily be lowered all the way to $350 a month if you're willing to live further away from downtown. But they have the best subway system that can easily take you anywhere in the city you want. So the cost of rent and housing, we can safely say that Malaysia is roughly 3 times or more cheaper than America at the time of writing. Now we look at the food prices. Anywhere from eating at big international brands, going to fancy 5-star restaurants, to eating the cheapest local street food you could find. And what makes the comparison pretty easy is the number of fast food chains here in Malaysia, as the price of a burger has always been a good way to determine the quality of life and the overall cost of living. So let's start with the biggest name, like McDonald, as the Big Mac over here literally costs less than $3, while the last time I checked in California, it was over $5 and almost $20 for a combo or so. Burger King is not as easy to compare, as they don't sell bacon over here due to religion, so the menu is pretty much different. But as you can see, this crispy chicken burger is only $2.50, whereas in the US, it's close to $10 last time I checked. So if you love eating Burger King, looks like you can save 4 times the money by moving here.
Hey, look at what I found at the local grocery store. Pokemon juice and some yogurt. So cute! The big one was about $1.50, and the yogurt was only 70 cents. I sound like I'm joking, but I'm not. It's really that cheap over here. In the US, this alone will cost you $3 or $4. That's 160% more expensive for only a drink.
But not just a drink. Dunkin Donuts is also way cheaper, as the donut I'm eating now costs less than $1, about 2 times cheaper than America. And especially here, you don't have to tip anyone, which saves you about a dozen awkward conversations. And frankly, you don't even need Dunkin Donuts or Starbucks to have your cup of coffee, as Malaysia is also known for making the best coffee in all of Asia. And I couldn't be more surprised when they told me the coffee you're seeing right now was only 50 cents. And if that's not crazy enough, this roti bakar kaya, which is like a toast with butter and coconut jam, super popular breakfast over here, was also 50 cents. And if that's not unbelievable enough, Malaysia, this special coconut tart you're seeing was also only 50 cents for the whole box, meaning it's possible to have a whole breakfast or afternoon tea for you and your friend for $2 or less.
But if you want to save every single dime as I do, they have those super local places where they may not even speak English, but the price was literally less than half. Good.
And that's actually one of the biggest travel mistakes I see a lot in tourists when they're traveling in Asia. Because a lot of those American or Western restaurants, they're open for tourists. Of course, it's super pricey. So if you're not free to try the local food that you don't even know how to pronounce, you could save a lot. And maybe even find some hidden gem like this $2 wonton noodles. This vegetable thingy also only $2. And I'm not sure what this is, but it's only $1.70. And the soup tastes pretty unique. But just when you thought nothing could go wrong once you move here, you will start to notice some things that are surprisingly more expensive as opposed to the US.
Just like a can of beer and everyone's favorite Mountain Dew. This one costs $1.50, and you can easily find cheaper ones in the US if you're buying them in packs. And the Mountain Dew was 70 cents, way smaller than the ones in the US. Or I could easily find the same for only 50 cents or less. So not everything is cheaper here, I guess.
But overall, it's rather doable to keep your monthly living expenses, rent included, in big cities in Malaysia below $1,000 a month while eating the best local food and occasionally going to the fancy restaurants where you're asked to wear a napkin around your neck. But if you want to live the same lifestyle in major cities in America, you might need to be a CEO or something. I mean, I have friends living in San Francisco making $100K a year, and like 35% of that goes to taxes and retirement planning. Over 30% goes to rent with a roommate, and the rest goes to groceries, heating, and insurance. And if there's anything left, they can finally go to restaurants. But life is more than eating and sleeping. So next, we're seeing how much it costs to travel around. Go to all the places you love and do all the things you love in Malaysia. And the first is domestic travel. Because when you think about the most beautiful countries in the world, you probably don't think of Malaysia. But all the oceans and island hopping you see right now was all filmed in Malaysia. And domestic flights over here are usually cheap, anywhere from $30 to $80. You could do a round trip if you avoid holiday season. Hotels in Malaysia, as I mentioned earlier, are some of the cheapest in Asia. I love to joke how a day in 5-star hotel in America, I can stay for a week or even a month in similar 5-star hotel in Malaysia. Metro in Kuala Lumpur is pretty good, and I heard they're still expanding. And in my experience, $1 or less takes me to most places, and some of the buses are free. I don't know why, but it's good to have. But it's also free as going to some local museums, and the air conditioning is super strong if you're worried about summer being too hot. This aquarium in Kuala Lumpur costs $18, which is 2 times cheaper than the one we have in San Francisco. And the indoor theme park is also $18, but only if you're from Malaysia. Otherwise, for foreigners, the ticket is over $22.
The dual pricing system, or as we call it here, the tourist tax, is more common than you might think. Government gotta make its money somehow. Doesn't Hawaii have the same thing? If you're from there, you save a ton from hotel rates.
Well, what doesn't have a crazy pricing system is going to the gym. As based on my trading buddies and my own experience, $35 to $60 a month here, you can find a pretty good 24-hour gym, which is surprisingly more expensive than the average gym in places like LA. So I guess this is a win for the US. But there's still a ton of places in Malaysia that I didn't bring up. They are completely free to visit, like most of the temples and mosques and your typical tourist attractions.
So now you know the cost as well as what it's like to live here compared to the US and A. As I find it really easy to keep my daily cost way lower than $40 a day, with the majority of it going to rent or hotel costs, and the remaining going to food and taking the metro. It's literally the cheapest country ever. And it's not just me saying it, as Malaysia has been rated one of the best places to retire in the world, with the most beautiful view, the most affordable luxury cuisine, and you don't even need to drive to go anywhere, as their public transportation is one of the best I've seen. Whereas in California, you know, $3,000 a month living inside a 100-year-old shoebox, with neighbors dog pooping in front of your house, playing god-awful music all night, throwing trash into your balcony, and you just can't take it anymore. Ooh, I got personal for a second. So anyway, I could easily see all the retirees and digital nomads wanting to live here, until a cheaper option shows up, which I doubt.
But actually, there's another country where you can live in luxury for pretty cheap. Because next, we're checking out what $2,000 a month can get you in the world's cheapest country. But is it better than Malaysia? You can click on the video to find out.